Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Murdoch DeFi YouTube channel. And in today's video, we're talking about a project again here on the channel. We covered them a bunch, maybe a few months back, when I was talking about a lot of these like bot type plays. This was back when stable fund was still relevant and producing. However, their V1 of their protocol didn't work out, and they were always been kind of pushing towards the V2 version, which is getting ready to launch soon. We'll get into that. But the project that we're going to be talking about today is Wealth Mountain. They did reach out and ask for a full, honest, in-depth review from me. So that is what we're doing today. And since I've already talked about them a bunch here on the channel, not in a sponsored format or paid format or anything like that, I decided to go ahead and agree to doing this video. Now, that being said, I'm still going to give my honest review. And of course, I'm going to be very transparent about if this is something, if Wealth Mountain V2 is something that me personally is looking to get into. And I have a couple interesting points to make as it pertains to the way that they're doing things in the future with this new rollout of the V2 contract. However, before we jump into everything Wealth Mountain, I did want to kind of tidy up a couple housekeeping bits. The first being, I did recently become a partner with Astrobit. So if you've been watching and following along the bot content over the last couple of weeks and you still haven't decided if it's something that you want to jump into or not, I'll leave the link to astrobit.io down below in the description of this video. You can use code Murdoch for 20% off, not only of purchasing a bot, but different strategies as well. Most in particular, the one that I've been talking about pretty heavily here on the channel is Warp Bots. Like I said, man, they've been doing really well for me this week. So I'm excited to put out my weekly update video as it pertains to everything bots that I'm doing. We added some more bots. Things are going good. But second piece of housekeeping, I did mention it here on the channel, I believe one other time, but I did create a second YouTube channel. I'll leave that link to the second channel down below in the description. It's more business and car related stuff. It's not for everybody, but if you want to check that out and you like the content that I produce here for you on this channel, you might like it over there as well. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into Wealth Mountain. So let's talk a little bit about Wealth Mountain and how I was participating with it when V1 was around. Now, this was something that we I think everybody knew, and even the Wealth Mountain team was very transparent about the fact that, hey, like there's Ponzi-nomics at play. Sure, they have this portfolio and they're trying to generate returns for everybody. But I think that their main focus was always on like the V2 version, and this is what they're getting ready to roll out now. And from what we're going to cover, they seem to say that there is no more Ponzi-nomics at play, and they're only paying out people based on the yield or the revenue that the Wealth Mountain portfolio is generating, which is cool, which is good to see. But let's go ahead and check it out. So Wealth Mountain V1 had 6,000 plus users. I believe they have a couple $1 million staked into their platform. They had a couple of different contracts. I can't remember all of them. I probably was in the BUSD or USDC one. I can't remember exactly which one I was in, but it was one thing that was making me quite a bit of money every single day. And again, this was back when I think Stablefund was still producing pretty consistently before that whole thing went down. But yeah, 6,000 plus users, 20 plus investments. That means that they're investing in 20 different things from their portfolio, 50 different content partners, and 300 plus daily transactions. That was all on the V1. Here you can see that their portfolio is still almost at $750,000. So $658,000, 657. So they still got quite a chunk of change in their actual portfolio. They do have, I know that they're going to be implementing something for, like if you were a V1 user and you didn't have an opportunity to get your funds out before the contract drained and went to zero, then they're going to be implementing some things for those people as well. So that's always good to see. And I think that kind of shows their intent. Obviously, like they didn't have to roll out a V2 or do any of this stuff if they weren't trying to to continue to grow the protocol, if that makes sense. So I don't think that there's necessarily anything nefarious at play when it comes to the team behind it. Now, this team, to my knowledge, is not somebody that's doxxed or anything. And the only reason why I'm doing this video about them is because, well, for one, I've already talked about them a bunch here on the channel. And like I just mentioned, like they are doing things to try to fix the way that the contracts were functioning in V1 and move to a more sustainable platform that should last in theory, right? Now, how Wealth Mountain works. Wealth Mountain protocols are fueled by the growth of the Wealth portfolio, a public wallet that is actively managed at the discretion of the Wealth Mountain team, right? So this was the whole thing before, is that they were investing into certain DeFi protocols. I think that they were investing in a stable fund. They had some drip tokens. They were in Horde, all these things that were popular at the time. While they might not be producing anymore, that's what they were doing at the time when the V1 contract was around, right? But let's get into, I mean, if you don't know about like more so about the V1 contract, then I definitely recommend you checking out my older videos on Wealth Mountain, where I was doing kind of like my weekly updates on how much money I was earning per day in DeFi. We talked about them a lot, but here is how they're moving forward, right? So there's two different options, right? They have this liquid staking model, or they have split staking. So they're saying that the liquid staking model is absolutely risk-free with proportional rewards. So zero risk, have access to your stake at any point with zero chance of overlap with rewards. Liquid stake sits in an isolated pool and remains untouched for the duration of your stake. Rewards are proportional to your staking amount. The more you stake, the larger your share in the liquid staking pool to earn a portion of the liquidity injections, right? So what they're doing is they're taking the funds that are currently sat in this portfolio, they're investing into different projects and earning a yield. Once they've earned the yield, I mean, probably on their specific timeline, then they inject that back into the contract. And based on how much money you put in to the liquid staking contract, then that is what you're paid out proportional to the amount of money that like I said, you put in. There's no reliance on new stakes or capital. Again, so hopefully this meaning, moving away from the Ponzi-nomics types of plays or projects, or the way that they had their contracts set up in the past. It says if users choose to unstake, existing stakers can earn more, right? Because if you're earning a proportional amount to the pool, if there's less users in the pool, then that means you're going to get a bigger percentage, or not necessarily a bigger percentage, but the percentage that you are getting in that pool will be greater in terms of like the dollar value, right? Alternatively, creating new stakes allow the wealth portfolio to grow and generate more revenue. So that is one option, right? This is their risk-free option, where you can be able to unstake, you can be able to stake whenever you want. Obviously, there's some fees associated with staking and things like that, but just keep that in mind. Split staking. So purchase split stakes and earn split rewards. So you can purchase a split stake to deploy your capital via the wealth portfolio. Prices are determined by Wealth Mountain smart contracts as dictated by project activity. Rewards are evenly distributed amongst all split stakeholders. The more split stakes you purchase, the more you can earn. So obviously, I mean, maybe this would be construed as a little bit more risky. Users always have the option to sell their split stake back to the Wealth Mountain smart contracts for a predetermined resale price. Sales and split stakes mean more rewards for sales of split stakes, just like in the liquid staking model, means more rewards for existing split stake holders. They also have this early adopter staking. So it says that we appreciate our early adopters and risk takers that supported the V1 platform. So early supporters or early adopter stakes will enjoy various perks to show gratitude for their support in the Wealth Mountain V1. So again, not forgetting those people that got wrecked on V1. They're still going to plan to take care of those guys. These stakes are locked due to the risk taken in V1. Early adopters users can expect frequent rewards distributions from flexible payout methods. Utilize a combination of both proportional and custom distributed types, allowing users to earn in more than one way. Additional perks include special airdrops, voting and nomination tokens, private groups, and early access to the innovative feature that Wealth Mountains plans to release. So, I mean, that's pretty good understanding. They do have some pretty good documentation as well here. This kind of breaks things down for you as it pertains to liquid staking. And then they have some more information on the split stake as well, and kind of an example of what that might look like. So for the split stake side of things, if their portfolio, let's just say, generated $50,000, they would inject that profit. And let's just say that there are 125 active split stakers, then each split staker would receive $400. And again, this scenario is shown for one profit injection. And I assume that they plan to do this quite a bit, depending on how much yield that they're earning with the money in the portfolio. Now, also, it says here, this is kind of interesting, split stakes have a maximum profit of 300%. You're capped out at 300%, but I wonder what happens after that if you just unstake or trying to sell your split stakes and then purchase new ones, or there's some gamification that could be had there. They do also talk a little bit about their early adopter staking. They give an example there too. But I guess it comes down to the question, is Wealth Mountain V2 something that I see myself getting into? And right off the bat, I probably want to say no. And here's the reason, right? And I think what they're doing is great, and having a contract where there's no Ponzi-nomics at play. They're not guaranteeing a specific set daily ROI or any kind of percentage. It's basically purely just like the percentage you make is purely extrapolated from this wealth portfolio and how their investments are doing. Now, the reason why I say it's probably not for me is because I'm not somebody that likes to have a very passive approach to what I'm doing in crypto and DeFi, meaning the projects that they're investing in, I would rather do that myself as opposed to pay a fee for it and then collect my rewards, right? So if I do that, then I'm not only hoping that the project that Wealth Mountain is investing in is staying afloat, but I'm also hoping that Wealth Mountain is staying afloat, right? So then there's too many parties involved for me to make it make sense. Especially if we don't know, I think we can click through and see some of their portfolio, but let's see some of the stuff that they were invested in if they show that. Yeah, so this is all the stuff that they're invested in currently. So the Blixen stuff, Kane Kai, I've never heard of this. Looks like a good option for a DJ play as part of our risk allocation. Expected returns are 300%. That's something that I never heard of. ArcFi, CDeFi, BSC Pad, Drip Network, Venus Protocol, MDB, which MDB is good. But as you can see here, all of their inactive positions, right? Stable Fund, they took $106,000 loss on there. Horde, they took about a $6,000 loss here. Furio, $20,000. Alpha Capital, 1.5K. D Mountain, 3.2K. Refund pending. So all these things, right? And just looking at these inactive positions, they've lost more than they've made, right? Obviously, the Stable Fund was a big hit, not only to Wealth Mountain, but to everybody else involved as well. And for me, it's hard for it to make sense if these are the types of projects that they were investing in. It makes it a hard sell for me to be able to say, yeah, okay, well, I trust whoever they have looking into projects and putting in like classing them by risk category and all those things, and really to be responsible with the large amount of funds that are in the in the Wealth Mountain portfolio or in their treasury. So that's my only thing. Now, if you are somebody that likes to take a more passive approach, then sure, like there's plenty of options out there, right? And Wealth Mountain sure could be one of them. But for me, like I said, I don't like to take like the passive approach to really anything that I do, not only in crypto, but in life in general. So for me, it's probably not something that I would jump into right away. Maybe see how things go, watch it kind of closely over the next 90 days. And if it's still afloat, then maybe kind of reevaluate that situation based on their performance over the last 90 days. And then look at something or look at it as something that I might like to get into. But that's just me personally, guys. And by no means am I trying to offer you any kind of sound investment advice or anything like that. Obviously, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm just simply sharing with you what I'm looking at and how I'm determining if these things are things that I want to get into or not. And as much with the bot stuff that I've been doing over the past couple weeks, I'm trying to learn and to grow as an investor, as a YouTuber. And part of that growth is being able to look at projects without emotion and determine if this is something that's going to be around in the next year, right? Is Wealth Mountain going to be around in the next year? Based on all the information that we have pertaining to DeFi projects, the answer is likely not, right? I'm not trying to FUD or cause any drama for the project, but that's just the reality of the situation. You and I see it every single day. We see fly-by-night DeFi projects pop up and then shut down just as fast as they came about, right? So, like I said, I'm trying to take that information, take that knowledge, and be able to utilize that as learning processes for my own investment strategies, right? And hopefully I can share that with you guys. And if you want to take bits and pieces of what I'm doing, completely fine. But just understand that I'm not perfect and I get things wrong all the time, right? I make mistakes probably more than anybody because I try to get out there as much as possible. But like I said, we're trying to learn from our mistakes, guys. We're trying to make better investment opportunities, and that way, it's. And I was talking to Pocket Aces about this last night, and it's really hard to build your portfolio when you're investing in a bunch of projects that end up rugging. And even if you have a large portfolio, like that can only happen for so long before you no longer have the capital to be invested in projects that are really good and you think are going to do extremely well, or that check all the boxes for you. So that's what I'm trying to get away from. I'm trying to only put my money into things that I know for sure are going to work, or that at least if they don't work, then I'm the one responsible, right? With bots, like sure, the bot could take a bad trade or something like that, but there's still some mitigation going on where the risk to the downside is only at a specific percentage, right? Also, with bots, I have access to all my funds. Like I'm the only one that can log into that centralized exchange where all that money is being sat, and be able to interact with it. I'm not reliant on a third party to say, oh yeah, well, it's going to take you, or I want to pull my money out, it's going to take you 2 weeks to process this refund or whatever. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Wealth Mountain, but you know the story, right? So that being said, this is getting long-winded and we're kind of going all over the place, but I hope you guys understand the message that I'm trying to send to you. And overall, we're just trying to navigate this DeFi space. As new as it is, over the last 2 years, we've learned quite a bit. I think now it's finally the time to start learning from those mistakes, learning from those bad investment opportunities, learning from these projects that offer a ridiculous APY that is highly unsustainable. And again, it's good to see that Wealth Mountain is going away from that. But for me, it's not something particularly yet that I'll be putting money into. That being said, guys, let me know what you think about this video. What do you think about Wealth Mountain and their V2? let me know down below in the comment section of this video. Like I said, guys, I'm going to be dropping some links in the description, and we'll go from there. And then I will catch you this week, maybe tomorrow, for the week 3 update for the bot progress. And we just added some Forex bots that are doing pretty good. So we'll chat about that tomorrow. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.